Well, it certainly, I would be naive to think that it didn't fail. There are some things I'd say, and one has to be very careful here. Yes, there are times in the Spanish Revolution where anarchy, and that's what it is, anarchy, not anarchism, it's anarchy, was astonishingly brilliant to see, was amazing to see. To see people control their own lives, to control their own daily affairs, to control their work and their lack of work. You can see that in Aragon, you can see it in some of the industries in Barcelona. But you also see there as well the left, the Communist Party, the Socialists, actually being, I think, rather afraid of anarchy. Afraid of people saying, we don't need you, just like we don't need the Phalange, we don't need the capitalists, we don't need the Catalonian nationalist politicians. We're here. We can run our own life. You know, the villagers in Spain that said if Rockefeller came here, it'd be worthless because we don't have money. He would be no more important than me. Now, those are wonderful things, and probably in the 20th century, in terms of the development of a humanity, that was a high watermark. You can see it, you know, on the side of the sea wall. That's as high as it got. And yes, it failed in the end. But anarchy didn't fail, and it didn't combust totally inside, though there were real splits and tensions. And again, one of those big splits and tensions was to do with power and anarchists entering government. And how that happened is a huge story in itself. But it also failed, and it went under because of the tensions amongst the groups on the left, who saw anarchy as a threat to fighting the war, as a threat to democracy, and of just simply going too far. And so whenever anarchism began to be what it could be, it will be attacked, not just of course by fascists who were, you know, or the Phalange, or even the Catholic nationalists who were fighting with Franco, but with its erstwhile allies. And a big question still remains, of course, which is that whether or not it's even possible to get anarchy, to create anarchy in one country without it spreading very quickly. For two or three reasons. One, if it's in one country, it will ossify. We saw that in Russia with communism, state communism. But and secondly, because anarchism is an enricher. Anarchy enriches, it grows, it changes, it's perpetually in motion. And it's got to be in motion alongside other people in other communities and other countries. And that's still, I think, a huge question that we ask now. So anarchism or anarchy didn't succeed, and sometimes it failed. It failed because of some people who were reputable anarchists, brave, honourable anarchists in some cases, taking positions of responsibility in a popular front government, you know, where there's communists, socialists, democrats, nationalists all in one government. We're all together in this fight. And it also failed because anarchism had to fight. If you imagine you're at war, you don't want to be fighting the people who are supposedly on your side and the enemy, because you get exhausted, you get bitter, and you get run down. You can't do that forever. So I think that what happened in Spain will always be a point of interest for us, because it's the time when anarchy actually in some areas flourished in a mass way. And you know, for people like Emma Goldman who saw it, all of her life it had been a theory in her head, and she actually saw it in action. And you know, there were all sorts of things she saw in Spain she didn't like, but she saw that. And it, for me, it's one of the greatest things to think that there's this old lady who's now actually seen her ideal at least come into practice. You know, you remember what George Orwell said in his book Homage to Catalonia. He said he went to Barcelona to fight against fascism, and when he got there, he didn't understand what was going on. You know, the fact that people didn't take tips, waiters didn't take tips, people treated each other as equals, and there was a belief in each other and a belief in working together with the anarchists, and the anarchists sort of taking industry and running it along anarchist lines. And he said, I've no idea what it was about, but I knew it was worth fighting for.